Hello, my loves. Welcome to Pain to Joy, episode 12. My name is Danielle Suddy, and I want to thank you from my whole heart for being here today. I am currently in Thunder Bay, Ontario. I came as a surprise to my family, my cousins, my brother, his wife and kids, and I am still committed to get this podcast out today, as I normally like to get it out on Monday mornings. And I say this out loud to myself and to all of you because it's a commitment I've made to myself. And I feel like when we build self-trust within ourselves, that helps us know that we can accomplish things we didn't think we could accomplish. We can do more than we ever thought possible. So setting personal goals or setting intentions to complete certain things and actually completing them helps me believe in myself, helps me see what I am capable of, and today we shall see. I had a wonderful time this past weekend, more wonderful than I could have imagined. I originally received a text from a cousin of mine just over a week ago saying that he was going to fly me out for this block party that he does every summer. This was the 4th annual, and it's in his cul-de-sac in the house where I stayed this winter with him for 3 months. Such a generous, kind, and wonderful soul. And I said, no, don't fly me out. I'll figure it out. And so I was looking at flights, and they were going up. And then I realized that we had a family reunion on the other side of the family. My grandmother, who passed earlier this year, it was her side of the family. So the Watley family. There was a family reunion on Saturday. So I thought, wow, I could go to the block party Friday night, and I could go to the family reunion on Saturday. And my younger brother, his wife, and 2 kids happened to already be here for their holiday. And I have surprised them on holidays before. And because I booked so last minute, I booked 24 and a half hours before I was flying from Calgary to Thunder Bay. I thought, you know what? I'm pretty tuckered out right now. I'm not going to tell anyone. Let's just let it be a surprise. So I did, in fact, get to surprise a lot of people. And I think I will share more about the magical surprises at a later date. But what I wanted to talk about in this podcast is love. I just want to talk about love because I feel so loved. I have been welcomed with open arms. And some people might say, well, yes, of course, it's your family. But I really did descend upon people that had no idea I was coming. And every step of the way have felt so welcomed and so loved. And I share this because sometimes when life gets busy, or sometimes when we have so much on the go, I think forget to stop and think about how much love we have in our lives, how much love we give and how much love we receive. And I was saying to this lady on the plane, we ended up being sat beside each other. I had actually upgraded to premium last minute. It was almost a more economical thing to do. There was 1 seat left. And so I got a meal, my bags were included, and the woman sitting beside me, I wasn't going to say that I got the deal. And she said, oh, just so you know, I didn't pay for this seat. I was upgraded yesterday for free. That was my cousin who just walked by, and they were coming back here to surprise her mother for her 80th birthday, which was going to be the next day. And so we were chatting, and I said, well, I'm surprising my family as well. And I said, the beautiful thing is, I don't think anyone will be upset or miffed or, oh, what are you doing here? And that to me was such a heart-expanding thing to say out loud to this beautiful new friend that I made, who also happens to live in my neighborhood in Calgary. So we were talking about the crazy construction. And I said, I think that might have been 2% of me also getting out of Dodge, because there's so much construction. I could barely get to my Uber when I walked out of my house last Wednesday with my suitcases. And thankfully, because I've made friends with the construction workers, my new friend Sobi, he was like, Kate, come now. Here's your Uber. We've got this. There was some sort of huge truck I've never seen before. Holes in the ground. And oh my goodness gracious. And so sharing with my new seatmate, and we had a lovely time. We had a meal. We both ended up getting Prosecco. It was just a joy. I said, it's just so lovely to know that I'm going to go back and surprise people, and it's going to be okay. But it was more than okay. It was more than okay. It was absolutely incredible It is incredible. I'm still here, going to have dinner tonight with my aunt and her family and an uncle who's in town and my cousin. And I feel so surrounded by love. And I want to invite you to take a moment, maybe close your eyes. I've just done that. Put a hand on your heart space. Take a breath in. And think about or feel into the love that you have in your life. I have so much love in my life. I feel so loved. This weekend I was surrounded by love. And I truly believe that we are on this earth to love and be loved. And so again, I just invite you to think about all the people who love you, all the love that you have in your life. This weekend I witnessed love. I'm watching one of my cousins with her daughter who turned 1 back in February. I'm watching another cousin with her daughter who has a birthday coming up. I'm seeing my grandma who passed, brother, the only remaining of the siblings, and talking to him and talking to his wife, my great aunt. Just so much love. Other long-lost cousins I haven't probably seen in 30 years, reconnecting and connecting the dots and reminiscing about these Christmas parties we used to have. I had lived back in Thunder Bay for grade 9 and 10, so I do recall some of these cousins from way back when, and that again was 30 years ago. So yes, today I wanted to talk about love, and another thing that I wanted to talk about was saying yes. I believe on last week's episode, I talked about how I had written this summer to-do list, a bucket list, and although I haven't been able to find it, I think I ripped it out of my notebook. One of the things I believe I wrote down was say yes. And I thought of that because prior to my cousin reaching out and mentioning the block party coming up, I had been messaging with another cousin a few days later who also lives here in Thunder Bay, and she was just casually asking if I was coming up because my brother was going to be here and it's summer and we had the Watley family reunion. And I recall looking at flights a couple of months back and thinking they were a bit pricey and I needed to focus on fixing things in my condo because I had some tenants that were evicted months ago that mucked a few things up, and I'm still working on that. And so one cousin asked, 3 days later, my other cousin asked, 3 days later, I was messaging with another cousin, and she was so sweet and so lovely. And she said, well, it's too bad that you won't be here, but you were here in the winter and that was so wonderful. And part of me thought, just say yes. I truly felt like I was being urged by the universe to come back after being casually asked and then being invited and then being reminded how wonderful it was when I was here in the winter. And I will be honest, I hesitated a bit because as much as I knew it would be beautiful to be with my family and be reunited on the Saturday, I am still moving through the grief from my granddad passing and my grandmother passing, and I wasn't sure. And I did have a beautiful dream on Friday night, the night before we had the Watley family reunion party, and my grandma was there. And what I know to be true is my grandparents would love that we were all together. My grandparents would love how many of us are here right now spending time together. My uncle is here from Toronto with one of my cousins. My brother just left this morning. He was here with his family, and we had the most wonderful, wonderful time. And I'm really glad I said yes. And there are a lot of times in life where we're a little bit scared or we're a little bit anxious or apprehensive. And I was. And I know I mentioned earlier in the podcast it was great to have the family reunion, but if I'm being honest with you, I was excited for the block party and I was hesitant about the family reunion because I wasn't fully thinking it through, and I was thinking more about, I wasn't thinking, I was feeling grief. And as I felt into it for a few days before I bought a last-minute flight, I thought, just say yes, go, enjoy yourself. Admittedly, I had a lot of fun times the previous weekend and my brain is pretty tuckered out, and I was thinking what is the best for my wellness. And these next few days, what will be best for my wellness is taking it easy, getting back into a routine, being with family, being out at the lake. So many hugs, so much love, so many beautiful conversations, seeing all the different generations together on Saturday. I am so glad I said yes. So where could you say yes more in your life? What are you hesitating about? I know I mentioned when I began making this podcast, I have been wanting to make a podcast since 2017. And over time, I will share more about what my anxieties might have been. And I feel that now I'm in a place in my healing journey where I can share authentically. And I'm not scared about what I'm going to share or what I'm not going to share. Obviously, on some level where I was at in my healing journey, I wasn't quite ready. And also, luckily, a young lady who I met on a plane ride from Puerto Escondido to Mexico City, and the plane didn't go to Mexico City. We ended up in a place called Querétaro to refuel, and I started chatting with her and her sister, and they were so beautiful and so wonderful, and we've kept in touch over Instagram. And she started a podcast a couple of months ago. It was short and sweet, and I thought, if she can do it, I can do it. And she's doing an incredible job. And I was like, what is stopping you? Just say yes. And I know that fear holds us back. I know a lot of us have anxieties, and we have little T trauma and big T trauma. So maybe we're not quite ready to say yes, but can we put into place tools and resources so we can get to a place where we can say a loud, emphatic yes. Yes to the things that we want. Yes to life. I'm so thankful I said yes. And I will admit, I probably did overdo it. And I know that here I share about taking intentional breaks and taking care of yourself. I'm doing my best. I know on Saturday, I said to my cousin and my uncle on the way out to the lake that I need to do better. And I did. I left the party at a certain point and I did not return until pretty much everyone was gone. And in the past, I might have felt guilty or weird or strange that I didn't stay the whole time and I didn't say goodbye. But I knew that my health was a priority. I needed to go take a rest. And I did that. And then I was able to enjoy the evening with the other family that remained and have a few saunas and hop into the lake and enjoy that time much more because I took a break and I took a rest. And I will implement that more and more these next few days. And as I mentioned in previous episodes, I've still got a few sessions left with my counselor. I very much believe in counseling. I was having a few conversations this weekend about this idea of when things around us can be hairy and chaotic, when things around us can be scary or anxiety-inducing, when the people around us might be part of what is causing us anxiety or stress. The only thing we can change is ourselves. And I share that because one of the reasons I'm able to make a podcast and put it out into the world, and one of the reasons I'm able to say yes more and more, is because counseling has been something that I continue to go back to along my healing journey. And other things like acupuncture and somatic breath work and things I've mentioned in the past, like going to the Landmark Forum, talking to trusted friends. May you find the tools that work for you in order for you to continue to say yes. And I invite you, please DM me. You can find me at danielle.suddy on Instagram, Danielle Suddy on Facebook, dksuddy@yahoo.ca. Because when I have some more brain power, when I've gotten some rest, the continued episodes of Pain to Joy, I will continue to share tools that I have used to be where I am, to live a more joyful life. And that doesn't mean that I don't experience pain. That doesn't mean that I don't experience stressors. It means that amongst that, it is possible to grow and build in resilience, to be able to manage stressors as they arise. I've had conversations these last few days with people who I love deeply, and some of those conversations might have triggered me in the past, but because of all of the different modalities I've used over time, I am more assured in who I am. I'm more calm and peaceful. And I also know a couple of things that are so important. What other people think of me is none of my business. And we are all doing the best that we can at the time. And so, for example, I was thinking back to a couple of things I might have shared or some conversations I had, or maybe a goofy thing that I said that in the past, years and years ago, might have made me feel self-conscious or anxious. And I thought, you know what? I'm tuckered out. I had a lot of fun at that block party. I was up partway through the night making a very, very late dinner for myself and my cousin, who played so beautifully. And of course, because it's a block party in the cul-de-sac, there were people sort of partying outside in the yard into the wee hours. Therefore, some of the things I might have said the last few days are not that coherent. And I remind myself that I'm just doing the best that I can at the time, and that I'm surrounded by love, and that people mean well. People who are in my life who love me and who I love. We always have the best of intentions. And just like last week when I was talking about on episode 11, when we're in close quarters with family, when we're spending time with people we don't always spend time with, there sometimes can be stressful energies. There sometimes can be blips along the way. But what I will say about my recent trip to Las Vegas and these last few days being here, it has been a joy. It has been a privilege to spend time with people on my healing journey. Like today, for example, I could not get out of bed until 3. And the only reason I got out of bed is because I wanted to record this podcast, and we do have a family dinner and I don't want to miss it. I might just sit in the corner and just take it all in, but I want to be there. But this impromptu experience of giving people magical surprises and spending time with family that I do not get to see all the time is an experience that I look back on already and will always look back on as 2 trips, 2 magical adventures full of love, being surrounded by love, getting to do fun things with people I love. I just was thinking about it now because I wasn't going to get into the details, but getting to go on the pontoon boat, having my niece hold my hand because I didn't want to dunk the other day in the lake because I get a little chilly. And she said, "Why don't I hold your hand?" And we dunked at the same time. Being on the paddleboard with my nephew, who I would have never been able to go on the paddleboard without him because he did 95% of the paddling. And just like I couldn't have done that without him, I can't do life without all of this love. I can't do life without all of you who are listening and loving me. I want to say thank you to my friends and my cousins and loved ones and people I don't even know who are reaching out and letting me know what resonates, sending me messages of support. I welcome feedback. I welcome how things are landing for you when you listen. You can let me know what you want to hear more of, what you want to hear less of. Thank you for being love in my life. No matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, I hope that you have moments of love today. I hope that you have moments of joy. I hope that you say yes more and more often. And if you're not quite ready yet, may you find the tools. May you reach out for help and for resources so that you can say yes more and more in this one precious life. Sending you love, hugging myself and sending you a big hug, placing my hand on my heart, closing my eyes, sharing so much thankfulness and sending you so much love, taking a deep belly breath in, exhaling all that no longer serves and perhaps never did, sending you joy on your journey.